It's the George Plaster Show. 30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and young guns Billy Derrick and Michael Cindric. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. Beautiful Tuesday afternoon in Nashville. I look outside and it's starting to cloud up. And the reason for that, around 9 o'clock tonight, it's going to start raining. And we'll get a little bit of rain tonight, early into the morning, and then get back to the business, hopefully, of sunshine. Got a lot going on. Big night in the city, as you'll find out in just a moment during the update. Let's head to the plateau, say hello to Coach Watson Brown. Watson, how are you?
George, I'm doing great today. How about you?
Good. Is that orange you're wearing?
That would probably be, I would call that probably burnt orange. I'd say that's Texas orange.
Really?
It'd be close. Yeah, I'd say it's Texas orange. There's a lot of different oranges.
Yeah. Is that a Texas freebie, perhaps, from the past?
That would have been way too far back. That's been a few years back since I'd get the Texas freebie stuff.
Yeah.
We would trade UAB and Texas for our freebies. So I'm not sure that was a fair trade, but I went for it anyway.
So you're saying on the open market, the UAB stuff may not have been worth as much.
I'm not sure. Mac was rolling around in that top 10 at that point. So, I doubt that it would go for the same kind of bucks that the Texas stuff would have. Yeah.
Let's say hello to Billy Derrick. Billy, how are you?
George, I'm great. Watson's shirt looks like a little salmon color, maybe.
That's what I was going with.
Yeah, or peach, maybe a little bit.
Peach.
I don't know. What is salmon color?
It's
salmon,
like
Salmon? Salmon?
It's like a pink/orange color.
This would be closer to peach than that. Yeah.
Okay. I like it. It's a nice shirt.
Thank you. Another one of my golf shirts.
Looks comfortable.
That's wonderful. Let's say hello to Michael Cindric. Michael, how are you today?
Doing well. Real well. It's really, really pretty here. I feel like, since I've been in Nashville, I haven't seen too many bad weather days. It's been really sweet. I mean, walking outside today, it's awesome. And I'd agree with Billy. If we're going to stay on Watson's shirt, it is salmon. I don't know what that is. That's not in your normal crayon box, but I think that is salmon.
You learn something new every day.
Yeah.
I don't have a crayon box.
Well, there's probably a difference of about 50 years in the eyeballs. So we might see things a little bit different.
That's fair.
That's probably true.
Is that fair?
That's fair.
I think
I
at
wasn't
this
going to
point,
say it. I was not going to go there, Watson.
Don't, because he does enough. You don't need to.
No, I would not do that.
George handles all that. You just don't need to go there. So.
There's no need.
I think at this point we need to get to the update.
Let's get to it. Let's get to the update here. We got a lot in the update. Of course, George, big night in Nashville tonight. Vandy and Kentucky. Wildcats are a 4.5-point favorite. Last time Vandy beat Kentucky, 2016. The Cats have 13 straight wins over Vandy. It's Oscar Tshiebwe. Can they stop him? They got no Liam Robbins. Tshiebwe, I told you before the show, George, he could have something around 20, 25 rebounds tonight.
Well, to my way of thinking, and we're going to talk about this later with Taylor Barnette, it's the most meaningful game that Jerry Stackhouse has coached since he's been here.
Mm-hmm.
This is, first of all, do I think Vandy could win at Rupp Arena right now? No. Do I think they could win at Memorial Gym? Maybe. But I think I'm right about one thing. This is the most meaningful game he has coached since he's been here. Because let's face it, since he's been here, they've been anywhere from the 11th to the 14th ranked team in the SEC. They've caught a little bit of fire to go 3-3 in the conference, and now they're facing one of the real blue bloods. And can they stack with Kentucky? I don't know. I don't think athletically they necessarily can, but I'm not just blown away by Kentucky going, oh my God, they're the 27 Yankees. They don't look that good.
Watson, you know how much that gym can help the home team when it's really rocking like that, and they'll need it. I mean, they'll need it tonight.
I can vividly remember, vividly, and it's been a few years, of walking in as a student or even as an assistant or head coach through my time playing Kentucky, and all the Kentucky blue on the outside of that gym, George, trying to get in.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you would try to walk through them, especially as a coach, because students came in a different place. But as a coach, and I'd come around and go in that downstairs door and speak to CM before we'd go into the gym. And you couldn't get by the blue, but they couldn't get in the gym. They couldn't get in there. And
Now they
I
can.
promise you there will be blue in that gym tonight.
It's going to be really interesting. Sheboy can't go for 37 and 24 again. That's for sure. That cannot happen. Isn't that what he went for the other night against
Georgia?
Against Georgia, that can't happen. But George, I'm with you. It's not like Kentucky. If Vanderbilt can slow the game down and make Kentucky really get into forcing them to do what they're uncomfortable with, which is breaking a guy down and going and scoring or perimeter shooting, Vanderbilt's going to have a shot. They also need to shoot really well. They need to shoot kind of like they did against Arkansas, obviously. But I'm blown away by their athleticism. Kentucky is as athletic as anybody in the country. But as far as just pure scoring, if they can slow that down a little bit and then slow Sheboy down, it's going to be close.
If it gets late and it's close, advantage Vandy, because let's be honest. John Calipari is not John Wooden. He's a great recruiter. He's pretty darn good motivator, but X's and O's, it's not a big strength of his.
George, another big game in the city tonight. The Preds are welcoming the Winnipeg Jets, one of the better teams in the league tonight. Jets are heavy favorites. Second meeting of the season. They lost earlier, the Preds did, in overtime back in December to the Jets. But, George, they're coming off a 5-3 win at home over the Kings on Saturday night. They scored 2 goals in the first 40 seconds, a franchise record. And I was there. It was pretty incredible.
Yeah, good. They need some of this.
Yeah, they may need to keep that going tonight against the Jets. So we'll see what the Preds do tonight. George, we'll get into this with Tony. Josh Heupel has got an extension through January of 2029. The terms include an annual compensation of $9 million. And Heupel now ranks in the upper tier of SEC head football coaches. Only Saban, Kirby Smart, Jimbo Fisher, and Brian Kelly are making more than him right now.
Good Lord, I would accept bottom tier. Watson, think about that. Think about when you were at Vandy and what your highest salary is. And I'm not asking you to say it, but I don't think it was in that upper tier of what he just talked about.
Well, I'll say this. I took a $150,000 cut to come to Vanderbilt from Rice. So you can see what I would have been paid in the SEC in those days. It's unthinkable that these guys, unthinkable. Bear Bryant was paying guys $20,000 and $30,000 to be assistants and thought that was too much. And I don't know. It's just now there's coordinators making $2 million, $2.5 million. Coordinators. Put me back as a coordinator. I don't want all of those head coach issues I had to deal with for 32 years. Put me back as a coordinator. Pay me $2.5 million, and I will stay there forever, babe.
Hey, Watson.
Unbelievable.
Hey, if you could go back in the future, what would be more predictable, that a coordinator to make 2.5 or that a high school quarterback would get offered $13 million to go play at Florida?
It's all unthinkable. It's just but that shows you. And George, we all know who started this.
Steve Spurrier.
He started it with that, but who started the money? Roy Kramer. Roy Kramer started all the money when he formed the BCS. And from that point on, this thing has gone nuts. And Roy Kramer's going in the College Football Hall of Fame this year. He should be, because he is the man that started this whole show. And
He turned it into a business.
Look where it's gone now. It's all based off the dollar. The BCS was formed based off the dollar, and I don't think it's through yet. I don't see how in the world these group of fives keep up. I don't see how they do it. And I think there's going to have to be another step down championship to save those schools, in my personal opinion. I'm not saying it's tomorrow, but they're going to taste this for about 10 years. And then they're going to say, my gracious, we can't come close to these guys anymore. They're not going to be able to keep their players.
Mm-hmm.
They get a great player in a group of five, and he's gone the day after the season's over. I mean,
it might be less than 10.
Oh, it might be. It might be. It's not going to be tomorrow because they got to taste this for a while. But when they start losing every player they got, George, and then they're going to play these Power Fives and getting killed, that's when they're going to look at each other and say, what are we doing here? We can't keep going this route.
Watson, do you think that when that starts to happen, that also speeds up kind of the coming of the super conferences? Do you think that's going to be a pretty bang situation when the group of five start looking out?
I think that'll be the last piece, Michael, if it happens, because I think these guys in these super conferences now realize we need to keep some of these dudes around to beat. Mm-hmm. You go to this super conference and you put 50 teams in that super conference and everybody's good.
Right.
These fans don't care. They ain't gonna be happy going 7-5. They're not gonna be. And so I think these guys are gonna be smart enough to keep these certain kind of teams around in the Power Fives to keep their record where it is. And if they go to a super conference, then what they're going to have to do, I think, is they're going to have to play group of five schools outside the super conference and pay them a lot of money to pay them, to play them, Michael. That's about the only way they could do it, because there's no way Alabama is going to accept 7-5. Right. Georgia is ever going to accept 7-5 again. They're not going to do it. I was in Alabama when that happened to the University of Alabama. I'm telling you, they don't want to taste that again through Dubose and Shula and
Mike Price.
Yes, Mike Price. I was there through every one of those, and that's one of the reasons they tried to do away with UAB football. It won't work, and I just don't think the Alabama fan can handle it, or in any of that style of fan. I'm not picking on Alabama, Texas, any of them, Oklahoma. They can't handle that.
Billy, rumble through.
We're going to keep the theme of coaches going. Former Tennessee Titan Kevin Mawai is going to be the next coach at Lipscomb Academy, replacing Trent Dilfer. And we talked about Jason Witten potentially being that guy, but Kevin Mawai is going to head to the Lipscomb Academy.
First of all, it's a really good hire. Kevin is a good man. Really enjoyed dealing with him when he was a player here. Smart. He'll do really well. I think the kids will really like him. After the Jason Witten deal, the next name that I heard was John Kitna. And that one sort of soured at some point. And then I started hearing Kevin Mawai over the weekend, and now it looks like that's going to happen. They've made a good hire.
Made a great hire, but what creates all of this? Exactly what we've been talking about. Money.
Moolah.
These guys aren't making high school money.
No.
They're not making high school money, guys. And so it's exactly what we're just talking about on the college game is now starting to get down into the high school game.
Well,
Moolah.
Another coach, keeping the coach theme going. Bill O'Brien is headed back to New England after agreeing to a deal to become their next offensive coordinator. He reunites with Mac Jones up there, and Bill Belichick, of course, he started his career up there in New England. So you got to believe that's a good hire for them.
In a related
it can't get much
note,
worse.
Matt Patricia will continue to have a pencil in his ear.
Absolutely.
If he stays, I don't believe he'll be on the offensive side, George. I think he'd wander his way back to the defensive
over to
side
defense.
of the ball.
Patriots offense this season, 32nd in red zone efficiency, 27th in third downs, and 28th in first downs.
We will talk about that later in the show.
They
George,
need some help.
Yes, they do. One last piece here. Tough news for the 49ers. Their D lineman, Charles Amenahu, was arrested on suspicion of misdemeanor domestic violence yesterday. Not the news you want heading into a big game on Sunday.
Nice.
Let's better.
Let's move on.
I need to end the update a little bit better.
Well,
it's always sour.
It wasn't exactly, and the Grand Marshal of the Rose Bowl parade will be, what's the guy's name?
Yesterday, the last update was the Georgia receiver. We're just ending on a depressing note of these updates.
Yeah.
I need to be better.
Tomorrow, get us the story of whoever the Grand Marshal is for next year's Rose Bowl parade.
I will. JT Daniels.
After
that was great.
That was one of my better lines.
It was.
Transfer portal has a float. Here's old JT. I'm trying to think who else would be on that. I'll come up with it after the break.
You think if I was still the head coach at Rice, I would have took JT Daniels? Knowing me, George, as you have for all these years, do you think if I was the head coach and AD at Rice now, like I was back in the 80s, would I have taken JT Daniels?
No.
Absolutely not.
I would have loved to hear him ask you, Watson.
Huh? I'm sorry.
I would have loved to hear him ask you to come back or to come in. Just to hear your answer.
I think the better stuff would have been the explanation of how did it get to this? Fourth school in 4 years. Okay. Tony Basilio is going to join us after the break. And obviously, we'll start with Josh Heupel's contract extension. He's a rich man. If you need a loan, call him before you call me. Terms could be a lot better. Then at 3 o'clock today, Taylor Barnette will join us. We'll ask him the question, can Vandy beat Kentucky at Memorial Gym? A lot happening on the show. You stick around. We're back in a moment.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is simple. I chose Hermitage Strike and Spare. They were amazing. Great food, great bowling, and a staff that's ready to go the extra mile. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5665.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Well, you know what? Josh Heupel might be singing that song on the way to the bank. Big contract extension worth an estimated $9 million 9 times. Wow. Good stuff for him. Good for him. Tony Basilio joins us from Knoxville. He is not making $9 million a year. Frankly, none of us in this business are. Tony, does Heupel need to send a little like finder's fee to Tony Romo?
Wow. Ain't that the truth? No, I just think, that's the going rate. People have to kind of live with it. It's just part of being a sports fan these days, just kind of turning your head, on this stuff and accepting it for what it is. I mean, at Kentucky, I remember when it seemed outlandish, they were paying Bill Curry at Kentucky $800,000 to coach football in the mid-'90s. And now they've got a coordinator up there at Kentucky making $1.8 million. You knew when Tennessee had their breakout season this year that Tennessee was going to pay the price for it. And truthfully, I don't know, does this increase? I was talking on my show today when it broke. Does this increase the pressure on Heupel? Not really. All these jobs are so pressure packed. But, he has his quarterback for the next couple of years. And if this kid stays healthy, Nico, this Tennessee team's going to be pretty good for the next couple of years. So we'll see what happens.
And here's the other thing, I guess, that Danny White can say. Okay, when I got here, here's what our season ticket sales were. And now that Heupel has finished this year, here's what our season ticket sales are. Do the math times however much. I mean, we both know, we all three know that this season not only got them more gate receipt money, but you got to think in contributions to University of Tennessee athletics, to the school in general. When the football team kicks butt, that's what happens.
Well, not only that, but I mean, look at the TV revenues. The TV money's getting ready to go out of sight. So, and that's why you're seeing the spending on these sports. I mean, they've made the decision that they're going to privately fund their payrolls on these football teams. And as long as that's the case, a lion's share of this money is going to filter to the coaches and to the administrators. I mean, Danny White himself's making $1.8 million a year. So, and his is a contract that continues to roll over in perpetuity. You talk about a guy that's got the right agent. That's a guy whose agent I want. Because Josh Heupel, eventually, they're going to walk him into an office and they're going to tell him, hey, listen, it's been a lot of fun for you. We'll pay you whatever you need. I mean, whether it's, now or 10 years from now, those guys all know that. How would you like to have a deal where you make $1.8 million a year and it just rolls over in perpetuity? That's the deal the AD talked them into when I guess they decided they needed an adult in the room, which is kind of what happened.
We all need that. So tell us a little bit about Heupel in the Knoxville community.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, he's very approachable. He's a very decent person. When you do what I do, George, and you know this, you are going to hear what kind of people these folks are, how they comport themselves. Are they big time? Do they take time? Do they make time? Are they humble? And Heupel's just, he is just a Dakotan made good. And he's just kind of an everyday guy. And I think in a sense, sort of getting a sense for who he is, I bet he's a little embarrassed today by the amount of money he's making. Because I bet that's kind of, I bet in the back of his mind, the thought is, I wonder if people think this has changed me, which I don't think it's going to change him. I think it changes some of these people. I'll put it this way. I would love to find out what it would do for me, but I don't know the answer to that question because that's just a astronomical amount of money to most of us that are pondering what it would be like to put your name on a contract like that.
Well, you've raised a really good issue because we all ask ourselves, if we hit the lottery in our
Yeah.
case, because obviously what we do isn't going to pay $9 million, but would it change us?
Mhm.
And I'm afraid the answer for me would be, I think it would.
I agree with that.
And you know, that there's some piece of this where I'm like, I'm glad I don't have to worry about that. Now I could use an extra fill in the blank, but I'm almost glad I don't deal with that.
And I think that's well put. I've often said in my prayer time, thank you, God, for only meeting my needs and a little more. And the truth is, most of us in this land that are watching us, I mean, we are truly in a land of plenty here. And, that's why I wonder with sports, just how much is too much. And these salaries, as they continue to skyrocket, at what point do working folks just say, hey, that was a lot of fun, but I'm going to watch it on television? You mentioned gate receipts before, and I just keep waiting for that breaking point to occur, because surely the breaking point has to happen. I mean, it has to, but people continue to invest more and more money in it. And, so, and good on Josh Heupel. I'm telling you guys, I think he's genuinely a pretty good fella, all in all.
Watson, it's all yours.
Tony, I vividly remember in the 80s when I left the University of Cincinnati to go to Rice.
Mm-hmm.
And it big headlines everywhere. If not the highest paid coach in the country, one of the highest paid coaches in the country. And I got absolutely eat alive. He left for money. The city of Cincinnati, Mike McGee, my athletic director, who, by the way, left 7 months later to go to Southern Cal. but when I left, he ate me up. And it shows you how times have changed.
Mm-hmm.
That was in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And I can vividly remember articles, front page headline articles of guy just got bought, doesn't care about anything but money. Here's a young guy that doesn't understand how to go to work and win his way through things. All these things said, and it wasn't anywhere close to that kind of money, believe me. But it's just amazing now that the thought of money in the college game has a complete different mindset, Tony, than it did back in those days. I said on the air here earlier, I don't know if you were listening, I can remember Coach Bryant paying assistants $25,000, $30,000 to be there, and said that's plenty. We don't need to pay ours anymore. And most of them stayed. They wouldn't leave. It wasn't the money. They were staying because they wanted to be on that staff and learn football or whatever. I sit now and watch, and with a $9 million put on a guy, and going to the Orange Bowl is a lot more money. Your university gets a lot more money when you go to one of those top bowls like that. So there's a lot that goes into this. But Tony, what I've always said, what changes these coaches is when they start saying, this is about me instead of where I am. That's when they get in trouble. If the head coach understands when he's at Oklahoma and he's at Tennessee, and yes, he's had a lot to do with get Tennessee back, but Tennessee's always been one of those type programs. When you start saying this is all about me and it's not about this university and what I get to work with here and all the pieces I can put together to put a great program, that's when these guys, their egos get bigger than the university, and that's when they get in trouble.
And you can see it.
You do see it. You do see it.
Yeah. I don't think this guy, I'll just tell you, I don't think that's going to be a problem for him. I knew from Butch Jones, he was in trouble when he showed up with a car that had the open wings on it. And then he showed up at a football game, and he had a couple of armed security guards, like, I don't know, like he's a member of the Beatles or something back in the day at the stadium. I don't know. And then one time they were at a football game over at Catholic, where he's watching his son play Catholic high school locally, and he had a guy holding his umbrella for him. Watson, when you're standing out in the rain and you have somebody holding your umbrella for you, it might mean this thing has changed you. That might be a pretty good is that a pretty good indication, Watson?
It's a great indication. It just always, Tony, in the rest of our lifetime, watch these dudes and see when they start getting successful, how do they handle it?
Yeah.
And you're
like
going to
George
see
said,
the one that's going to stay successful and the one that's not.
Well, it's hard.
Something else I thought about this morning, Tony. You're sitting in a pretty good spot right now, bud. Let's see. Football's in the top 5. Basketball's in the top 5. Baseball is rolling. I mean, you're sitting in a pretty good spot right now. It's been a while since the University of Tennessee is anywhere close to something like this.
Yeah, and my baseball team played in the World Series in the pro ranks, and my football team is getting ready. I got my Randall Cunningham jersey.
You got your Randall Cunningham jersey on, yeah.
But the I don't know what to do with myself with all the good news. Because I'm like a Negadelphian to the core and a Negaval, and I don't know what to do with myself right now. I will tell you this: it's interesting watching how one program feeds another on a campus like Tennessee's, and how these kids all go to each other's events. I think that's one of the neat. There's a real collegial, if I could use that term, sense of togetherness here and synergy. That's I talk to coaches and they say, there's a real sense of camaraderie. There's not a lot of backbiting. There's not a lot of jealousy. And again, I think that football coach having the right mentality. I had Tony Vitello on my program a couple months back, and I mentioned Heupel to him. And I said, Tony, he seems like an emotionally intelligent guy. He said, man, that's exactly who that dude is. He said, compared to our other football coach who was here when I got here, who wouldn't let you get near him, he said, this guy is just a normal, can I help you, coach? Anything you need from us, please let us know. We're all in this together, which, Watson, kind of speaks to what you were talking about, which is the real smart guys in life are the guys that understand that we're all just kind of caretakers.
Exactly
no matter
right.
what you're doing, and I don't get here without standing on the shadow of or the shoulders of a George Plaster, who's a pioneer in our deal. And he didn't get there without, some of the pioneers before him. And I mean, we all have to recognize that. It is true, though. Really.
No,
George.
but
and that's the thing. The smart people know that, though.
Well, but when you lose that, it's when you get in trouble and where you don't understand where you came from and what got you where you are. And then the place you're at. That's the part I think these coaches forget.
Right.
That we all don't get those jobs. We all don't get those top jobs.
Right.
One reason I think you've got good camaraderie at that school, to me, Tony, it's not like Alabama where it's been a football school forever. It's not like Kentucky that's been or Indiana, it's been basketball school forever. University of Tennessee has been one of those few that's been pretty solid in everything for a long time. And that's why I think it's one of the better jobs in the country. I've always said the University of Tennessee is one of the top 10 jobs in the country. This is one of the reasons I think why. Basketball was good with Mears and Dickey and the different times through that time. Women's basketball. It's been good in all ways. It's never been called a football school, in my opinion. I don't feel that way. It's never been called a basketball school.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee is not put in that Kentucky type mode to me. And I think Kentucky football still fights that today in some ways. And we saw it happen with the two coaches kind of getting into it a little bit during the year.
That was unreal.
You're not going to see that at certain places where it's not that way. So I think that's one of the advantages Tennessee has, in my opinion. The other thing I say about these coaches, we've lost football coaches becoming ADs, Tony. That doesn't happen anymore. Matter of fact, I guess I'm one of the last ones ever.
Mm-hmm.
And but now with these football coaches dealing with money like they are through all this NIL stuff, they probably now could become ADs. They're having to deal with money in such different ways than they've ever had to deal with before. And I'm not joking about that.
No,
I mean now you're coming up with plans on paying everybody on your team.
Well, and as you know,
they're going to pay everybody on the team. So I mean, they're getting stuff they never had to do before as football coaches. I can tell you that.
And I'm not going to cry for them. They those guys want to bitch and moan, right, about how hard it is. Go out and work in the real world.
Yeah.
Go out there with the single mom that's waiting tables and has 2 kids at home. Those are people that have it hard because they have to balance a payroll on their football team or figure out how to allocate NIL money. I mean, don't cry for me, Argentina, when you're making that kind of money. But I will tell you this. As the pay escalates, the shelf life of these guys gets shorter and shorter. The what fans will tolerate gets shorter and shorter. It used to be at one time you got a job, you got 5 years. Now you get a job, you might get 2 if you're not real good. I mean, that's the reality. But you're paid life-changing money. Life-changing money. I was talking to an administrator who told me that friend of his who had become a pro coach, who had ascended in the pro ranks, called him up and he said, man, I'm really sorry for you. You've had a rough year, blah, blah, blah. And the guy says, listen, when I signed my name on that check, I got more money coming to me guaranteed than I ever thought. Don't get me wrong. It sucks to lose, but please don't shed a tear for me. I mean, it's hard, but it's not that hard. I know what they're going to do. They're going to walk me out the door and give me $15 million. I think I can live with it,
No, the contracts are written now, Tony, where they get that money a lot. And the old contracts of coaching were not written that way. Right. And that's my generation's fault. But we were in a generation where we said, okay, this is a contract, I'll accept it. Now these agents go in. It's a total different world. The other thing I think is changing it, Tony, and George, I'll throw it back to you after this, but the other thing that's making it quicker on winning is this transfer portal. That's changing the mindsets of everybody now. So now they're saying, whoa, now it's not 25 a year. You can bring in 40 new faces here and change your team in 1 year. And so transfer portal is going to speed up the number of years these coaches get in a patient way. Believe me, it's going to.
Well, and I tell you this right now, I don't know that I'd want to be in that business right now because of the transfer portal. We were doing a preview on Georgia today, and I was talking with Anthony Dasher down there. And Georgia basketball plays in here, and he said, Tony, they have a pretty decent record. They're 3-3 in the league and like 12-6 overall, whatever the number is. It's a lot better than they thought it was going to be. He said, but they had a kid quit their team right around Christmas time, and now they're getting whispers the guy is on his way to Texas Tech, and they're convinced internally that Texas Tech basically called them and said, hey, why don't you just come down here and join our deal and forget about them. And I mean, guys were leaving at mid-season. It's like they're not even trying to hide the fact that we're just going to recruit kids off other people's rosters. And man, we need commissioners in these sports in a big time way. That the head of the NCAA, that's not going to work. So that is certainly one change. But, the sports themselves, here's a crazy thing. The numbers for college football right now are as good as they've ever been.
Yep.
People can talk about all they, and really at the end of the day, what matters is how many eyeballs look at a television on any given Saturday or Sunday. And as long as college football is growing the way that it's growing, this money's the tip of the iceberg. The money Josh Heupel got today, it's tip of the iceberg. And by the way, I call that money when they write their contract. If a guy was any good, why would he need buyout money? Because I call it failure money, Watson. That's what we ought to call that stuff. If you fail here, this is how much money I'm going to pay you. I'd look at an agent and go, hey, whoa. What other part of our society can I walk into somebody and say, now, what are you going to give me when you let me go? Let's work on that pack. Huh? I'm not here hiring you to let you go. But that's where we are.
That's the differences in today's world, Tony, right there.
That's where we are.
It wasn't that way 25 years ago, even. That few a time back, it wasn't that way.
Yeah. And shame on you for leaving Cincinnati, by the way, for Rice.
Thank you, Tony.
I want to get that.
I really appreciate that, buddy. Thank you very much. And even on top of that, I'll say go Eagles for you, okay? Even though you took a shot at me, I'm going to say go Eagles.
Hey, I hear you're saying that my Eagles have the best team left, so I appreciate it.
They have the most complete team left in the deal.
Yeah, I hope you're not putting the kiss of death on us.
Tony, I got two questions for you. The first one, I kind of want to touch a little bit on where you were going. You kind of beat me to the punch a little bit, but you talked about at the end of the day, the eyeballs are still on the TV.
Yeah.
And, it's weird to be in this position and to be really disgusted in a lot of ways with where college football is going and the things that we see, and not just college sports in general.
Right.
And yet it doesn't stop me from every Saturday in the fall from going and watching college football. And I guess the question for you is, do you feel like there even is a breaking point where this gets so out of control? Or does it seem like, no, this is, you talked about it being the tip of the iceberg.
No.
Is any of the disgust around the country, because I don't think we're the only 5 people here that know that college football is a broken system right now with how things are going. But are we even close to a standpoint of where college football has to fix itself? Or is it, no. The interest is still way too high that college football, they could pretty much get away with whatever they want and nothing's going to change.
Well, how great's the game? I'm a baseball fan, and I've come to the conclusion they can't ruin it. They've tried so hard to destroy Major League Baseball. In 94, they just decided we're not going to play a World Series. Everybody showed up in 95. Now, of course, they inflated the guys and had a home run chase and had kind of a shameful era to those of us that like baseball history. But at the end of the day, major college football continues to fall forward. Think of the absurdity of Nebraska in the league that they're in, Penn State in the league that they're in. Nebraska geographically has so screwed themselves up. Think about the fact that USC and UCLA are going to join the Big Ten. Think about how silly that is.
Yep.
They cannot mess it up. At some point, though, the ticket buyer says, you know what? These people don't need my money. It's got to happen at some point. It's got to happen. Because it's not college sports anymore. It's still great. Don't get me wrong. But it's not the relationship. And this is what's going to be interesting here is seeing the way Tennessee fans act towards this Nico kid who has a alleged $2 million a year NIL deal. If you get off to a slow start and you're a quarterback in a market like this, they're hard on you.
Yeah.
If you get off to a slow start and you're in a market like this and the fans know you're making $2 million a year, boy, I don't want to be there for that.
No. I got one more for you.
Yeah.
Obviously Heupel is really well received. You've spoken really, really highly of him, even in this conversation of, got nothing but singing his praises. Was he received like that when he came into Tennessee? Tell me what your initial reaction was when you got the hire, when you found out that he was the guy and that he was the hire.
No, we thought it was crazy. But at the same time, they were put in such a spot that Tony Elliott's the guy they went after, who's at Virginia now. At the time, he was a hot coordinator at Clemson. And they went in on him not once, but twice. Now, it's funny. Our fan base does not like me saying that, because they want to have revisionist history that they just went down and got Josh Heupel and, and that makes Danny White. Listen, Danny White's a guy who found the guy that's at Buffalo that's now at Leopold, who's now at Kansas. That's a pretty good hire. In fact, that's a very good hire. He's the guy that hired Heupel at Central Florida. That's a pretty good hire. Brought him here to Knoxville, wins in his second year. To be honest with you, the question about Josh Heupel was always going to be, we knew his offense worked in the league because it worked at Missouri. The question was always going to be with him, is he a voracious enough recruiter? Will he surround himself with enough recruiters? Well, I'm not trying to diminish the job they do as recruiters, but the truth is when you get all hands or most hands pulling in the same direction at a spot like this, and the year he comes here is the year that the NIL thing begins. And then the people at On3 say that Tennessee has the best NIL program in the country in terms of the most buttoned up and the most together. That's a pretty good combination. Plus, I think that guy has the emotional capacity and emotional intelligence of the great pro coaches.
Yeah.
Which is to say, when I talk to his kids, what they say is, he doesn't treat us like we're 18. He treats us like we're men. And they have these expectations on us. And if we meet these expectations, they pretty much leave us alone. And he doesn't have to like be liked by them. He doesn't have, like, Butch Jones was a guy who had to talk till till the cows came home, and he had this slogan and that slogan. And then the other guy couldn't speak at all, the last guy. And, and this guy here is just sort of himself, but they treat people with respect. And another thing that those players say now is, we don't get cussed at.
Yeah.
And George, and Watson knows this. If you treat professional athletes that way, they'll shut off on you. They don't have time for that. It's like, and that's the age we're living in now. These guys are professional athletes. That's the, you can't MF kids anymore. It's a different era we're living in.
No, you can't do that anymore. And this transfer portal's making it even more so.
There you have it.
Making it even more so, Tony. And you made a point of exactly what I was saying just a minute ago. Everybody is saying Tennessee might have one of the best NIL packages in the country. That's because it's the University of Tennessee.
That's right.
They can put that together. There's a lot of schools that can't do that. And that's why Josh needs to understand that. Stay into what he's doing and don't put it all on yourself. And the university is the reason he's getting a chance to get these really good players, because of the money they've come up with to get these good players. Now, he's going to get them, but that's what I was trying to make a point of earlier. There's only so many of those in the country that can do that, Tony.
Yeah. And how many are
Tennessee
there?
is one of them.
How many are there? 10, 12, 13,
15
14,
at the most.
15?
15 at the most.
And 4 or 5 of them at any one time, guys, can't get out of their own way. Those two
got it
Texas
right.
schools, those two
Including
Texas
Tennessee
schools,
for a while.
That's right.
Including Tennessee for a while.
That's exactly right.
Alabama for a while.
That's the cycle of it. That's what makes the whole thing interesting is you look at an Alabama and you say, okay, you lost both your coordinators. You're without a quarterback this year. Your coach is really angry because David Pollock said what he said about him to his face, and nobody does that to Nick Saban, yada, yada, yada. But do they have enough team this year? I don't know. Do they? I mean, I look at them and I say, you got 2 or 3 losses. Are they getting ready to kind of cycle back a little bit? Because somebody always cycles back in this deal. Nothing lasts forever in this space.
Hey, I got to step in here. I guess it's called go to the commercial break. Good luck Sunday. The 700 section of that stadium not only will be rocking, there won't be a sober person up there.
No, and it was almost the Cowboys that were going to land in that gig. And my advice would have been, if you're a Cowboy fan, don't wear a jersey in that place. I think it's okay for 49er fans to do it, I think. But
Cowboys,
that would not have been good for the right to go to a Super Bowl. That would not have been a pretty picture.
Tony, we'll do it again next Tuesday. Thank you as
guys.
always.
Thank you.
See you, Tom.
We'll go to the break
God
on
bless.
that. Our thanks to Tony Basilio, who is awesome as always. When we come back, there will be a new voice leading the Atlanta Braves, and it will not be me. Stay tuned. I know it's getting colder. You're not thinking about golf. However, if you're planning an event for next year, let me suggest golf through Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. It's perfect for hosting a corporate or a charitable outing. They've got everything in place to make your event a rousing success. To get more info, call 615-847-5074 or go online to riversidegolflinks.com.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd. The goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Don't miss a minute of the action this season. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets to get your seats today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
Jody Jones has as nice a dental facility as you'll find anywhere. Let's go in and take a look.
Are you in the market for a new dentist? Maybe you're new to Nashville? Well, the place to go is Jody Jones Dentistry at 55 Music Square East. And their new facility is absolutely state-of-the-art. Jody mixes quality with comfort for the perfect dental experience. He's trusted for his creative design and committed to both the function and aesthetics of your smile. Jody is simply the total package. Don't wait. Make an appointment now at 615-259-5100. So, the Atlanta Braves will be looking for a new television play-by-play voice to be teamed with Jeff Francoeur. Chip Caray leaving the Braves and going back to St. Louis, where he grew up, to be the voice of the Cardinals. The Cardinals got rid of Dan McLaughlin after about a 25-year run, and some of it involved an alcohol arrest, that kind of stuff. Anyway, obviously, I know Jeff very well. I know Chip more through the late, great Nick Hunter than anybody. Those two were really close friends. To me, the biggest strength that Chip Caray had was his ability to take the dramatic call. Oh, look at that picture. That's Dad on the left, the irreverent Skip Caray. Is that the right word? Harry Caray. This is Harry Caray.
Look
in
at
the
those
middle.
sunglasses. Or
Look
are
at
those even sunglasses or
Look at
regular
the
glasses?
hair.
You know, Pete Von Aken from Peoria. And of course, Chip with the mullet.
That's awesome.
God, that picture is at least 25 years old. But to me, Chip Caray's biggest strength was his ability to turn up a notch on big calls. Let's listen in on a couple.
Swing and drive. Belted right. Welcome to the show.
Okay, that was Jason Hayward as a rookie when everybody thought he was going to be a phenom. And as most of you know, it didn't turn out that way. Here is maybe Chip's best call ever. This is Chipper Jones's final year in Atlanta. And if I remember correctly, this was a ninth inning pinch hit homer off of Papelbon. Let's hear it.
Swing, high fly ball, belted right center, and the Braves have won it!
So, Watson, there is a Nashvilleian that I would like to see get in the middle of this, and it's not me. It's Jeff Him from the Nashville Sounds, who I think is a major league caliber announcer on the minor league level.
Direction they go? Do they go get a proven guy as the Cardinals did, or do they bring in a guy that's not known and let him work his way up the ladder and become a very popular guy? I still think it's very important who your announcers are. I don't think it's what it used to be, like radio was, George, because there just weren't games on TV. As we were growing up, these young guys don't even know what I'm talking about, but it was one game a week, and that was it. And it was either the Yankees, the Dodgers, or the Cubs. That was all it was ever on. And so you listen to radio, and you the name was maybe more than the team of the radio announcer that you were listening to every night. I mean, every other night at the worst. And we grew up. My dad was a huge Cardinals guy, and that's because we could get them. That was one that you could pick up on radio. And I think it's still, though, very important on who that guy is. It's still a part of the franchise, and it's just such a marketing piece. But I'm not sure it's what it was back in the old radio days.
Here's a couple of things. They're going to move quick. I think they're going to make this hire within the next 10 days because they don't have any choice. It's pretty late in the ball game for this kind of thing to happen. One of the reasons I want to see Jeff Him get an opportunity here, I think this industry has gone about this backwards. The people at ESPN, because they have all the name recognition, are being hired before the minor league guys who have worked to improve their craft. I believe Jeff Him is a major league caliber announcer. When I hear him, that's what I think. And it doesn't matter what I think, but there's my 2 cents worth.
And George, I'll say this as a Braves fan, Watson, you hit on it a little bit there. Growing up, listening and watching Chip Caray, you associate that voice with your team. And it's going to be weird. I mean, it's like Vince Scully when he left the Dodgers. You associate, you hear that voice, all right, it's Braves baseball time. So this is definitely going to be a little weird, especially kind of the younger generation. George, I know you and Watson are used to different voices for the Braves, but for us, for the younger Braves fans, it'll be weird.
Oh yeah, because now we've lost Chip. Skip passed away. Pete Van Wieren passed away. Milo and Ernie are a generation and a half from us, and so that's not even a factor. Anyway, just thought I'd bring that up. I know we need to go to the break. Stat of the day, and then Taylor Barnette. We got plenty more coming, so you stick around.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you. Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards in all sports. And then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general: baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised. And, of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in, So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
Welcome back into the George Plaster Show. 1 minute past 3 o'clock, but we're still doing stat of the day. We got Taylor Barnette coming up, talking a little college hoops. But first, stat of the day. It's brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards in Shelbyville, Tennessee. 204 East Depot Street is where you can find them. They're open Tuesday through Friday, noon to 5, and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5. Give them a call at 931-492-4304. All right, let's check out what Michael's got today for stat of the day. And George, let me know if you want to bring Taylor Barnette in to help, if you would like that. But here's the question.
This one's tough.
It's a basketball question, so he may be of help. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum each have 30 25-point games this season. They are the first pair of teammates to do that before February since which duo?
Well, you know what? Why don't we bring Taylor in?
Yes.
And embarrass him?
There you are.
We get embarrassed. Taylor, how are you?
I'm great. How you doing, George?
Good. Do you think you have right off the bat sort of I know that one?
I have a duo that came to mind, but
Okay.
I'm not certain that it is correct.
Well, we will judge that here. Go ahead and spit it out.
The first couple teammates that came to mind were Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. R.I.P. to Kobe. But that was the first two that came to mind.
Okay.
I'm wrong.
Can you buzz him maybe a little longer?
He heard the buzzer, George.
No, I want him to hear it again.
Good. Thanks, George.
What that feels like.
Well, yeah, I mean,
because you guys have no shot in hell.
You don't know that.
You went to Taylor right away.
Yeah, I just wanted to humiliate him.
He was hoping I was going to get that right, wasn't he?
Oh, no, I absolutely was not hoping that. So let me ask one question here.
Do it. And I'm willing to give a hand. This is a tough one.
Does this one go way back?
This one goes a decent amount back.
Okay.
Yes.
Watson?
So it must go past Curry and Durant for sure.
Oh,
then,
yeah.
right?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay, Watson, I'm going to throw two out that I don't want Billy gonging us.
So Taylor gets gonged, but not you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Total double standard there.
Don't worry about it. So Watson, here are two that are on my radar screen. Make it three. Jordan Scottie Pippen.
Did Scottie score enough would be the point of that.
Julius Erving, George McGinnis, and going into ancient medieval where three people in this panel don't even know the names. Wilt Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor.
Wow, that is so disrespectful.
And maybe Jerry West, Elgin Baylor.
Okay, let's pull it up.
Okay.
How about Kareem and Magic?
Kareem and Magic. Oh, let's see.
Yes.
All right, we're going back to the early 70s. Pete Maravich and Lou Hudson.
Oh, sweet Lou Hudson.
Yes.
So, does anybody in here know who their play-by-play announcer was?
It wasn't Larry Munson, was it?
No.
Okay.
I have no clue.
Skip Carey.
Really?
Are you
Yes.
serious?
He called basketball?
Skip Carey, before the Braves hired him, was a very good Atlanta Hawks announcer. And for some reason, a radio station in Nashville picked up their games, and I used to listen to them religiously.
Look at that pistol on the back. He had
It's
pistol on the
awesome.
back of his jersey.
I got one question, George. One question. Did anybody else on that team ever get to shoot?
Well, you know who the center was? Zelmo Beatty.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
I remember this team.
Talk about crazy stats.
My
today,
age again, but I remember this team.
There's some crazy stat out there is if there was a 3-point line when Pistol Pete was in college, what he would have averaged. I mean, it's some ridiculous number. It's like 50, I think.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
over 50.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I saw him. Watson saw him. I saw him in person. It's pretty amazing.
He
Wow.
looks like a character. And
I
just
saw
looking
him
at
in
that
Memorial
picture.
Gym. I saw him playing
so did
Memorial
I.
Gym.
So, Taylor, you want to talk Memorial Gym?
Let's do it.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you I think Vandy could beat Kentucky at Rupp Arena. But this game tonight is at Memorial Gym. And to my way of thinking, this is the most meaningful game that Jerry Stackhouse has coached at Vandy, simply because in the first 3 years, none of his games really meant anything. They were never close to sniffing anything that was of any real importance. They seem to have found a little something. They're 3-3 in the conference. Is this team good enough to beat Kentucky in Nashville?
I think they are. I think that they're starting to make shots. A win at Georgia, a much improved Georgia team this year on Saturday. I think that was a really good win for them, a gritty win. Georgia made a run late and they held on. I think that, Ezra Mannion was unbelievable on ball defense on Saturday.
He dominated.
Absolutely dominated. And he was really, really good at getting in the lane, finding his guys and finishing in the paint. So I think that they're playing with a ton of confidence. It hurts that Liam Robbins isn't in the paint for them right now to be able to battle Oscar. But I do think that their confidence shooting the ball right now, Ezra's ability to guard the ball and to get in the lane and break the defense down, I think they have a really good chance of winning the game tonight.
So Michael brought this up earlier, and I was thinking it. Sheboy's going to get numbers. You're not going to hold him to 6 points and 4 rebounds, but you also can't have him go off like he did against Georgia for a 37 and a 24. I don't know that I've ever seen those kind of numbers in this league. Given that Robbins isn't around, how does Vandy keep him from absolutely going off?
I think it's really important that, whoever is guarding him, that you do the best you possibly can. You get low, you have some leverage, and you try to drive him out of the lane. But also, usually the 1 and the 2 guard get back on defense. And so if you're the 1 of the 2, you got to go and you got to gang rebound. You got to go and double box him out. Try to clear him out of the lane the best you possibly can. I think that it's got to be an unbelievable team effort on the glass for Vandy tonight in order to keep him off the offensive glass and give them extra possessions. And I think that, you're not going to completely eliminate Oscar from the game, but you definitely don't want to give him 37 points and 20 rebounds or whatever it was. And then you got to take care of business too. You can't let CJ Frederick go off for 5 threes. So you got to contain Oscar the best you can, and then you got to keep those other guys quiet.
Okay, you'll love this one. So let's say you're right. Let's say Vandy wins tonight at Memorial Gym. Give me where these programs go from here, because it would seem on paper that this would be one that would propel Vandy to stuff Stackhouse has never seen here. And it would also appear to me that in the Commonwealth, they'll go berserk, that a bottom tier SEC team that lost to Grambling and lost to Southern Miss could beat Kentucky. So tell me if you're right, where those 2 programs go from there.
Yeah, it's a long season. Those early losses for Vandy, they continue to get better. Kentucky's continued to get better. They've been playing better as of late. Have got some confidence going. I think that it's really easy as a fan base to freak out over one game. Lexington, Kentucky, there's a serious spotlight in Kentucky basketball. So you got to take it one game at a time, especially as a team where it's really easy to think forward. You got to stay in the moment. And it's hard to win on the road no matter where it is. These are SEC athletes. Vandy's got some really good players and they're playing confidently. I think, though, if they do win tonight, that they're feeling really good about themselves. They're feeling like, man, we can beat anybody. It's Kentucky. No matter how good of a year Kentucky's having, they always get the best version of anybody, no matter what, because it's Kentucky. Duke gets the same treatment. If Kentucky loses, I think they got to stick together It's going to be hard. People are going to be talking on the radio, calling in, crushing Cal and the team, but they got to stick together. They have plenty amount of talent, and Oscar in the center to make it to the tournament and do some damage, even if they lose this game tonight.
Watson, say hello to Taylor.
Taylor, the observations I had from watching Georgia with Vanderbilt playing Georgia this weekend. Vanderbilt might be the unluckiest team in the world. They have had injuries to people the last few years that have knocked them down.
Right.
I mean, they really have. And losing Robbins like this, right when he has maybe his best game against Arkansas, and then boom, he's gone maybe for the year. But I saw a team get a lot quicker, more athletic Saturday that he put on the floor. And his style, his offensive style, works really well with 5 athletic guys in what they like to do, it looks to me like. But then I think, and then I want you to comment on that if I'm right about that, but then I also think Kentucky, from what I saw against Tennessee, they're capable of getting out in your face and guarding these threes and yet not letting the guy dribble drive around them. They're that talented enough to take away what right now Vanderbilt is. I mean, they shot the lights out Saturday now.
Yep.
And I mean, really a lot of threes in a lot of different ways. So that matchup to me is a bit, we talked about Sheway. We understand how big that is. But I think the athleticism matchup against Vanderbilt, when Vanderbilt's gotten more athletic because of the injury, just talk me through that a little bit as a coach.
It's tough. I mean, when you have guys go down, you gotta see who's going to step up. So you give certain guys different chances, and you got to figure out who's going to step up and take the place of somebody else that went down. And I really do believe this. I think it started with Ezra Manjon on the ball and getting in the lane. I think he set the tone on Saturday against Georgia. I think his defense on the ball gave the team energy. And I think he set his teammates up for a lot of good shots. So, I mean, he's quick. I mean, he's lightning quick. So he brings a ton of athleticism and an ability on both ends of the floor that causes problems. So I think if he continues that tonight against Kentucky, that'll make a real difference in the game. And then I think that these guys will shoot the ball really well. They're big, they're athletic. In high school, you don't play defense. Cason Wallace is a really, really good defender. He's like an exception. He's an elite defender. But when you have young kids, you come from high school, there's not a lot of motivation in high school to play defense. But when you really make the choice that I'm going to defend, I'm going to stick to the scouting report, and I'm going to play just as hard on the defensive end as the offensive end, man, they're long, they're athletic, they're going to contest every shot, and they're going to keep the ball out of the lane. So if there's a motivation for Kentucky to play as hard on defense as they did against Tennessee, then they're going to win a lot of games throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, and I think that's the key to this game. That's why I'm anxious to watch it, because I think Kentucky, if they're into it, can guard these guys. I think they can. I think they're athletic enough and long, and they can guard these guys. I think they can keep the ball out of the middle of the floor when there's other teams that can't.
Right.
Georgia couldn't. But I think Kentucky's capable of doing that. I just think it's what shows up. I said it to you last week, and now here we are. I said, if they keep playing to this style, defense, rebounds, quit worrying about who gets the shots. Well, we're fixing to find out tonight, because I think if Kentucky does that like they did Tennessee missed a lot of open shots, I know. But if they do that like they did Tennessee, and the way they even played in the last game, then I don't think Vanderbilt can get them. But if they go back to that other style a little bit, Vanderbilt, I think, could dang sure get them.
Yeah, I agree with you. If the Kentucky individual players can keep dying to themselves and buying into what they need to do individually to win the game, and they come together as a team, I agree with you. I think that they got a really good rest of the season ahead of them, and we'll string together a good amount of wins.
Yeah, and the other thing, how do you do this? It, George, I'll give it back to you and Michael. How do you, when you lose your big guys and you're playing the guy they're playing in Sheway, is it better to try to to just flat double him every time it goes to him, or enough times to where I know you got to keep him off balance. But is that the best way to take a big man out, Taylor? Is it better to lean in zones toward that guy or back a guy up and give him shots? What's the best way without the big guy? And Vanderbilt's going to have to do this a lot the rest of the year. What's the best way to play a guy like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. With a guy like Oscar, it's not like he's Drew Timmy from Gonzaga where he's got all the up and unders and the fakes, and you never want to have him catch the ball down low. I think Oscar's biggest threat is getting offensive rebounds or catching a lob off a roll. I think that you have to really have your rotations tight. If the big guy is hedging a ball screen, the guys on the weak side really need to pull in and make Oscar feel crowded, not give him any open layups or dunks. I think those are the types of things you have to eliminate. And then I think your rotations on box outs have to be really, really key. If I'm Vanderbilt, I'm trying to send two guys to block him out every single time. And not even with the intent really to get the rebound, just making sure that he's not getting it. Because that is something that if he continues to give Kentucky more and more possessions, then Vanderbilt's got to guard more and more and more. And then all of a sudden, Ezra or Jordan Wright or whoever, Tyron Lawrence, is in foul trouble because they had to play 10 more possessions on defense than they should have. So I think you just got to throw everybody at him, and have your rotations tight and make sure that you keep doing the job on the glass.
Taylor, I got one question for you, and then I'm going to toss you. Billy's got one for you as well. But just talk to me a little bit about, what you've seen in this year's Vanderbilt team compared to last year's Vanderbilt team. Last year, obviously, really heavily led by Scottie Pippen and their offense, and his offensive ability to be able to get to the hoop and put points in put points up. And so just talk to me a little bit about what you've seen, because Vanderbilt's had a lot of success this year, and it hasn't been necessarily through that style. So what do you see that's just been different from this year's Vandy team last year?
Yeah, quite frankly, I didn't get to watch a ton of Vandy last year. Just we didn't play them, and when you're in the season, you're preparing and watching who you're going to play so much. But from what I know, I mean, Scottie's usage rate is through the roof, top 5 in the country. I think Vandy's biggest adjustment this year is they don't have maybe like a guy, for instance, like Scottie's not there anymore. It's more like they got guys that I think are willing to buy into their role. And I think that they're continuing to grow in that. So it really feels like it's a collective group, and they're really winning collectively. Last year, I felt like, Scottie made tons and tons of plays, put up big numbers, and they needed him to score 20 a night to win. Well, now I feel like, any given guy could get 15, 20 on a night, or you might have 5 guys that have 10. So I feel like they're collectively playing well together.
Taylor, I got one more here before we let you go. I want to ask you about the impact of a student section. We saw Vanderbilt a couple years ago where their students weren't allowed in the gym for these big games against Kentucky and Tennessee. Obviously, they've been active this season. As a player, as an assistant coach, how much can a home crowd affect the score of a game? We've heard it's worth 5 or 6 points, especially at Vandy. Well, how much of an impact could that have tonight?
Yeah, it's real. Momentum's real. I mean, as a student athlete, as a player, you always want there to be a great crowd. Like that just adds fun to the game. So the more energy there is in the building from the crowd, the players feed off that. It's a real thing. So I think the Memorial will be rocking tonight. I actually got to go to the game against Alabama the other night. Alabama's really good, by the way. But it definitely plays a factor. It's an energy that the players feed off, the staff feeds off. It's just fun. It just makes you more excited to play.
Will Ross Boss be here tonight?
Ross Boss will not be here tonight. He'll be watching on TV though.
Yeah.
He'll send me a few texts, some comments.
But he didn't care enough to watch this.
I don't know. I'll call him afterward and see if he tuned in.
I mean, I would think he'd want to see what you look like.
Yeah, maybe so. He might. Maybe he wants to see what you like, probably too.
Well, good, bad. Hey, talk to you next week.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Tell him I said hello.
I will for sure.
Taylor Barnette with his weekly visit on the show. That game tonight, by the way, is at 8:00 over at Memorial Gym. And while there's a lot of talk about home court advantage, make no mistake, Kentucky will have a lot of blue in there. And in recent years, that number has sort of outflanked what the home team has brought in.
You know, George, the more I think about tonight, it feels like it could be a turning point for the better or for the worse. You know, say they pull off a huge win. They've beaten Kentucky in 13 tries.
Yeah.
If they lose, this could, not that Vandy fans already haven't turned off, this might really kind of shut the door. But it could be a big turning point.
Big night. We'll see. Okay, after the break, we'll talk about the news that Alabama has lost Bill O'Brien. You could see it coming a mile away. He's headed to the New England Patriots.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Scholar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is simple. I chose Hermitage Strike and Spare. They were amazing. Great food, great bowling, and a staff that's ready to go the extra mile. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5665.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
So the news that got out this morning that Bill O'Brien is going to New England is no shock. Okay, this has been rumored for weeks, if not months. Bill Belichick made a calculated gamble that blew up in his face when he had Joe Judge, the former Giants coach, and Matt Patricia with that pencil stuck in his ear as the 2 offensive brain trusts to try to teach Mac Jones. And this just in, it was a colossal bust. I love wanting to bring up Patricia and the
Gerber's baby food.
The
pencil in his ear. I don't get that. But whatever the case, Bill O'Brien has past history with Belichick in New England. Bill O'Brien did a very good job under awful circumstances at Penn State and appeared to be on his way to some pretty good stuff with the Houston Texans until he got the ability to be coach and general manager.
Oof.
And he was a disaster as the GM. So Watson, let's start with you. First of all, how much will he help them in New England?
Oh, a bunch. He's worked for Bill before. He's worked for Nick Saban now. I mean, he'll be tough-skinned during the Dickens, I'm telling you, when you've been through those two guys. And he'll be his own man, and Bill will trust him and let him be his own man. Bill stuck his nose in the offense this year, and that didn't work. So I think he's ready to get out of it and bring a guy back in and let him go. I think this is perfect for Coach O'Brien, and he'll make more money probably than Alabama, if you can believe that. And he doesn't have to worry about NILs and transfer portals. And I think he's a perfect hire. That's the only guy I would have talked to, and I would have paid him whatever it took to get him because he's been with me before and won Super Bowls with me. So, I mean, how do you beat that?
Yeah. Michael, there's this school of thought that these two, Joe Judge, Patricia, both of whom were put in the offensive category designed to help Mac Jones, you could see from afar that had a chance to be a bust. So now all of a sudden you get him an offensive coordinator / kind of quarterback coach. Okay, you've just gotten through playing college football. How important is that quarterback coach type to teach a quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. And I think what you were talking about, George, with, the Joe Judge, Matt Patricia, experiment, why that failed. You just can't afford to try something out when you've got a young quarterback like that. I mean, that is, the most important position. And the quarterback's coach is one that you've got to get right. I mean, the quarterback's got to trust his coach. The coach has to feel like he's got a relationship with the quarterback, that the quarterback is loose. It can play free and not feel like he's got someone over his shoulder, but that also can, hold him accountable and say, hey, this is where you're lacking. And so I think that relationship, it's so important. It's not like you're coaching, the defensive backs where you've got 5 defensive backs and the coach is kind of addressing each. I mean, you got one quarterback that you're really working on and the backup and the quarterback's coach. And that's something that you've got to get right. The next thing that the Patriots have got to get right is finding talent that they can put around Mac Jones. They can't just say we're going to throw out a couple, wide receivers that we think are okay and Ramondre Stevenson and that be enough. We've seen Dak Prescott struggle when he lost Amari Cooper, was left really to CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard. We saw him struggle even more when he lost Tony Pollard. I think Mac Jones could work. I'd love to hear Watson's analysis on that, as if he thinks Mac can make it. I think he can, but they've got to surround him with people around him that can make that environment successful. A guy like Bill O'Brien, I think, is a way better fit for the quarterback because you got to get that right. You cannot mess it up. It's an intimate relationship, the quarterback and the quarterback's coach. You've got to get that right, and now they got to get some weapons around him.
And they've already got that going back to Alabama. So, they can.
Yeah,
No, he didn't coach him at Alabama.
Yeah. Watson, what's your thoughts on?
He did not. He came in when Mac was leaving. I think I'm right about that. And they spent time. Mac tried to teach him the Alabama offense, is what I understand. But Mac was through at that point. So Bill has not coached Mac himself. I just give the quarterback position a little more love than that. I mean, you can't take guys that have never coached the position, and have them coach the position.
Yep,
it's that alone. I mean, yeah, you can love on him and you can discipline him, but you got to have knowledge of what you're doing. I can't go coach a secondary right now and be fair to a secondary. And yet I've been around secondary kids for all my time as a head coach, but I still never coached the position. And that's where I was amazed that Bill Belichick did this. Totally amazed that he would take defensive guys, a special teams coordinator, and put them on the offensive side of the ball. I looked at it first as this is disrespect to the offense. That a defensive guy like Bill and all this, we can go coach offense. I've never sit there and said I can go coach defense.
Right.
I can give some opinions on defense, but I can't go coach the defense. And that's where that blew my mind when they did that, guys. You just don't do that in my profession. You don't put a guy that's never coached that position in such a important role. And a man of Bill Belichick's stature that I respect unbelievably, that just flat blew my mind when he did that.
And Watson, it's especially, you're totally right. I don't think there's any scenario you do it, but especially when you've got a quarterback in his first 3 years in the league, that's when you can't afford to do that. I mean, you know, Mac Jones right now, people are asking in New England, does he even work? And, you know, he was not in a desirable circumstance by any means in that position. And so it's one thing to do it with a guy like, Tom Brady. I still wouldn't recommend it by any means, but when you've got a guy you're trying to figure out, can this be the guy to lead our franchise? You can't try out something like that and experiment like that when you're, I think the fact that he is a third-year quarterback is crazy to me. But they try that out.
But admit this, he being Mac Jones, he's getting a free pass because up there when the announcement was made, there were howls of protest saying, what in the world are you doing? Patricia in particular has no business on the offensive side. This felt like Belichick telling all of us, look at my track record. I'm smarter than all of you, and I'll show you. And Watson, this is one of the few times in his career that it boomeranged in his face.
Yeah, I said it blew my mind. I have so much respect for the man, and Michael, you're right, but I go even further than that. I don't think you do that to a 10-year veteran.
Mm-hmm.
You don't put a guy in a room that knows nothing about the position. That guy's going to have no respect for him whatsoever. None, zero. Every professional guy I've ever had through all my years as a coordinator and head coach, I've always asked my guys in the NFL, what is the number one thing in coaching that you guys, how do you handle it? What's different on the NFL and coaching in college? They said, Coach, every one of them to a T said the same thing. If we as players think that guy can help us get better, we're going to love him to death. We'll love it. I don't care how he coaches me. If I think he can get me better, I'll love him to death. If I don't think he can make me get better, players will have that guy gone so fast you won't know what hit him. And that's exactly leads right back to this to me, George and Michael and Billy. You can't put guys in a room. I don't care how much respect Matt Patricia had or Joe Judge. They've both been head coaches in the NFL. It's putting me coaching the defensive line. And I've been a head coach, a coordinator and a head coach for 43 of the 46 years I was in the business. But still, I got no business coaching a defensive line. I don't care what my track record says. I can't get in there and coach those dudes. That's where I just think this was the craziest thing I've ever seen, and it probably cost him playoffs. It probably cost him a shot at getting in because his division, I think he could have got in very easily with a good offense as a wild card. He wasn't going to beat Buffalo probably, he wasn't going to win the division, but he should have been in the playoffs. And I think this one was on coaching. When I'd watch their offense play, it didn't look like an NFL offense. It really did not. Mac didn't look like an NFL quarterback. I hope and pray that he is. I think he is. I thought he was coming out, George and Michael. I did. I thought he was that good, but he wasn't. And he really wasn't the year before. I thought it was time to take the step, and I think Bill really hurt Mac when it's time to take this next step up going into your third year, and then you put those kind of guys in front of him that are fantastic football coaches. I also think this wasn't fair to those coaches. They shouldn't be put in that spot because that makes them look bad. And I'm telling you, it's just not enough love for the position coach. The position coach is a very important guy on all levels, and on all levels, high school, college, pro. Position coach is very important. Michael, I promise you can go back and think about the guys you had that coached you. The coach matters. He really matters. And good players become great players when they're taught things. and then they get reps on them and they get better at it and better at it. Then their confidence grows and they get better and better that way. So it really hurt me that I thought Bill took shots at coaching a little bit to me, George, when he said, well, let's take these defensive guys over here. They can coach. Anybody can coach anything. I totally disagree with that because I can put myself in that spot and say, I know I can't coach everything. I know I can't.
I feel like we're in the locker room right now, getting ready to run onto the field. I love it.
Okay, so let's veer away from the New England part, and now let's go to the Alabama part. They need an offensive coordinator. I think, Watson, there's a belief that they need to get themselves back to running the football with the effectiveness that in Nick Saban's heyday they were able to. Is this Saban doing a Belichick and just having one of his analysts become the offensive coordinator, or do you think he truly opens it up nationwide?
When Coach Saban brought his team back, when they were falling off, he'd always said defense, defense, defense. And then he said, uh-oh, this is passing us by here. And so since that point, he went out and got qualified coordinators, and Lane Kiffin, and then DeBow and O'Brien. So after he had Kiffin, and he turned things around offensively for him, and then he decides to go the pro route, and that turned things around for him. Both of those guys were very good for him offensively, and it's put him back up in the picture of winning national championships again. So to me, George, there's no way he brings up a guy that hadn't done it. I think he's got the money. He's got the prestige with the place he's at. He's got his own prestige of people want to come to me and become head coaches because they know we put out head coaches here. He can get a very, very, very strong guy. My question is, does he go into the pro route and go get a Brady type from the Carolina Panthers that's already done it in college at LSU and won a national championship? Does he go get a guy like that? Or to me, in the college ranks, I think he'll look at Dan Mullen. I think Dan Mullen will be a guy that he will take a look at because he knows he's strong-willed, strong-minded, was the coordinator, been a really good coordinator before, a head coach, but still was the offensive guy as a head coach. The other one I really like is Libby at Oklahoma, the guy that was with Lane Kiffin at FAU and then came to Ole Miss with him. I think he's really, really good. I think those two will pass his brain. Now, he may go a different way, George and Michael, but that would be the two college guys right now that I think would fit him.
Yeah.
Libby's style would fit him. They run the ball. They don't just – it's not all out pass. I don't think he goes for a Kingsbury or somebody like that. It's just a pass dude. I
agree.
Nick don't think that way. And so I don't think he'll go there. Brady ran the ball well at LSU the year they won the national championship with Joe Burrow. What was Hilaire, wasn't that his name? The kid that's with the Chiefs and been injured and hadn't played in a while. But my question is, guys, does he go pro or does he go college? Because I think he sold the pro piece in bringing in these great receivers. And what I think he's done that's neat is he said, I will have you better prepared for the NFL than anybody else will because I got NFL guys teaching you now. So you're not going in and something ain't going to be new to you when you get into the league. I think he's used that to go through these great receivers. All of them came in since Kiffin. And all these great receivers. So I'm not so sure he still won't head back toward the pro game. But I have no idea. That's a question that I got about him.
Watson, I love the Dan Mullen possibility. I knew I was missing somebody, and he was the guy when you said it. I'm not saying that's going to be him. But one thing Dan Mullen can do is he can coach an offense. I saw him at Florida. I think it was 2019 or 2020, one of those years. They were really up there in passing yards, and the next year they were one of the lead rushing teams. I mean, he has a really good ability, a good job of seeing what pieces he has and styling his offense to accommodate their strengths. And I think that's what Alabama needs. I agree. I don't think Kingsbury's the type of guy. You look at the pendulum of what Alabama football and offenses have looked like. It was the Greg McElroy days where he's going to be a game manager. We're going to hand the ball off to, Mark Ingram, Trent Richardson, those guys, and just wear you down and every now and then beat you over the top. And it's swung all the way the other way, right? With Bryce Young kind of having to be Superman. I want to see somewhere in that happy medium where Alabama can still establish their dominance in the run game. But it's not anything archaic. And I think Dan Mullen, I'm not saying he's the perfect fit. I'm sure Saban will pick a guy that's the right guy for the job, but he's an offensive savant. And if anybody can look at what we have and what we need to do from that perspective, Dan Mullen does a really good job at that. And so it'll be interesting to see, you're thinking college pro, and I'm also kind of thinking on that pendulum I talked about of run pass. And I think it's got to come back a little bit to the center.
Yeah, he's never going to leave the run. Nick will never leave the run. He's never going to be an all-out pass guy, and I think it will be a name guy on offense. Defensively, I don't feel the same because Nick's going to run the defense anyway. That name might go. We might go, who's that? Or, was that a good hire? That might be a total different look to me, George, and Michael, than the offensive side. Because I think Nick, when he started falling and Clemson started rising, and he said, I've got to change offensively, and I got to go get people that know what they're doing and bring them in here. And I think Bill Belichick is doing the exact same thing right now.
Saban's got it.
I better go get somebody that knows what he's doing and bring him in here. So the defensive guy to me might be a no-name guy. I think the offensive guy will have a heck of a background from whichever one he brings in.
Saban's got to figure out his quarterback too. That might be the bigger question.
And one of my former players' his son's there. Jason Simpson, George at UT Martin, the head coach there. That when I coached him at Mississippi State, his son is one of them there, and I hear a very good player. And I hear Alabama really likes him. So that's another thing, Billy, that's right. They don't know who the QB is right now. Mm-hmm. Is it going to be the kid that played some for the injury last year, or are they bringing one in that they think? So he's in a spot he hadn't been in a while. Nick is offensively. I don't know about defensively, but offensively, he's in a spot. He don't have the coach and he don't have the quarterback right now. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens this spring.
After the break, we'll have the Plaster Bet of the Day. To say that I was humbled last night could be an understatement. When we took the Grizzlies, we took a ride on the Hindenburg. Stay with us.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Attention Vanderbilt fans. The Nashville Predators are continuing their College Night series, and Vanderbilt Night is Thursday, January the 26th. Students, alumni, and fans are invited to celebrate. College Night Series ticket packages include a Predators game ticket and a limited edition co-branded hat. Tickets can be purchased at NashvillePredators.com/College Nights. Anchor down.
Jody Jones has as nice a dental facility as you'll find anywhere. Let's go in and take a look.
Are you in the market for a new dentist? Maybe you're new to Nashville? Well, the place to go is Jody Jones Dentistry at 55 Music Square East, and their new facility is absolutely state-of-the-art. Jody mixes quality with comfort for the perfect dental experience. He's trusted for his creative design and committed to both the function and aesthetics of your smile. Jody is simply the total package. Don't wait.
Make an appointment now at 615-259-5100.
Welcome back into the George Plaster Show, final segment on this Tuesday. Big night in Nashville, Vandy in Kentucky, Preds and Jets in the Music City. We've got Plaster's bet of the day. I don't think he'll be picking a team from the state of Tennessee, at least tonight, but we'll see after that Grizzlies loss last night. It's time for bet of the day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. They are lawyers that you can trust. Give them a call at 615-242-9000. That's 615-242-9000, or log on to their website. It's bartdurham.com. I know we talked about it. George, were you surprised?
Well, first of all, the Grizzlies, they got annihilated. Sacramento today is the 3 seed out west. I mean, that's the part that
better
surprises.
than people think.
Oh, that's the thing that surprises a lot of people is Sacramento's pretty darn good. And they viewed last night as sort of a big,
Litmus
we
test.
we get to the 2-hole?
Yep.
And they went out and beat the snot out of Memphis. I'll say this. I didn't have to, there was no thought of, hey, I might want to stay up a little later and see if no.
Well, listen, now is when, we either rattle off 3 straight losses or we bounce back and keep getting more in the win column. 107 and 105. That's a lot better than what it was 2 weeks ago. So
I think this is good, George. It doesn't let you get complacent at all.
Absolutely.
You lost to bring you back down to earth a little bit.
It reminds you how hard this is.
Absolutely. But I think the thing is, I think you all are the ones that need to learn how hard this is. As I have said before, in these casinos around America, those chandeliers, those beautiful chandeliers,
somebody paid for them.
Absolutely. And the problem is it was you.
You're right.
You're the one paying for them.
Yep.
So Watson, tonight we are going with one of the most underrated teams in college basketball.
The Horned Frogs.
Oh, yeah. Just came off ripping Kansas a new one over the weekend at Fog Allen Fieldhouse. Beat them by 23. They've gone to Baylor and won. They are a team nobody is dying to play. Oklahoma isn't all that good. I'm going Horned Frogs.
I kiss of death for you, bud. I agree with you.
Watson, let me ask
I'm
you
a
this.
kiss of death when I agree with you, man. It's not good. It is not good when I agree with you. So
we'll try to shake that tonight.
Try to shake it tonight, but I agree with this one.
Well, TCU just won the national title in football. We know that, right?
No, they didn't win the national
title. Moments ago. It's now 109-7.
They didn't win. They were in it. I meant to say they were in it.
Well, no, they were never in it.
They participated in the anthem.
Okay. They were present in the building.
Yes, they were in the building. That's good.
What I was trying to ask Watson is, does that, I mean, their basketball
and then they got
team,
the hell out as quickly as they could.
Hey, who did you say yesterday on yesterday's show moved into the TCU bracket? Who were you saying?
Giants.
The Giants.
Yeah, well, the Grizzlies have moved in there from last night.
They've lost 3 in a row.
The Grizzlies, the Giants, and the Horned Frogs.
Yeah.
I'm going to give up on my question.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask Watson about basketball. Does the basketball success ever correlate with football? Like your football team jumps into the top 25. I mean, what Tony was talking about it, that can help both teams, right? That can kind of go hand in hand where they see that success. And now the basketball team hops into the top 25.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think any time success was within the family like that can rub off on everybody. I think it's great. That's why I can remember different times when basketball teams had the big wins, and then all of a sudden the next year somebody else in the program hits a big one. So yeah, I agree with that, Billy, for sure.
Even though TCU may not have been in that game at all against Georgia.
Well, no, they were there.
May's not the word.
They were physically there. They got within 10-7.
What's the score now, George?
It's 109-7.
109.
Yeah. Okay. Tomorrow on the show, we'll get a report from San Francisco. 49ers are getting ready to go to Philly. And the truth of it is, virtually nobody thinks they're going to win. I think that's a dangerous assumption. They're pretty good. And then at 3:00, Mark McGee will join us. We'll talk about the Predators' week that was. They went to St. Louis and got annihilated. They came home, played really well against the Kings, and tonight they have good old Winnipeg, and they need a victory. We're done. We're out of here. Watson, go Frogs.
Go Frogs, George. Go Frogs.
What is that? Yeah.
That's the horn frog. That's what they do.
Horn frog.
That's the worst. That's the worst.
Growing up in Fort Worth.
So, okay.
That's
so
not the
did you go
worst.
to a
That
lot
one
of-
might be the worst, right there.
Did you go to a lot of TCU games?
I went to a couple, football and basketball.
A couple in what, like a 20-year period?
Yeah.
Way
Well,
to
you got to
support the
remember,
school.
I was at Harding for 16 of those 20.
Well, I guess you were. Thought about transferring to BYU.
Yes.
We're out of here. See you tomorrow.